Hello, everyone. I'm Circuitry, and I wanted to take this time to kind of talk to you guys about the whole PewDiePie Felix situation with him and Maker and Disney, and kind of give my input on the whole situation. Um, I just got done watching Jack's video. I got done watching Markiplier's video, their responses to the whole thing. It really warms my heart to know that they're supporting him through this whole thing, and I'm happy for that. The only thing that I disagree with, the only point actually, would probably be this whole thing of taking jokes out of context. You have to understand that jokes are meant to be. We are in an age where comedy is trying to sort of find itself again. And a lot of these jokes that people say have been said before back in the 1970s, have been said, back when, you had words that you couldn't say on television at all, and now a lot of them are allowed. You're allowed to say on television. You can say words like ass. You can say, I mean, they just allowed shit to be allowed to say on stage or on uh, certain TV programs. However, I when I was thinking about how I was going to make this video, you know, I support Felix because I understand the context of his jokes. I realize who the guy is. I realize that he is not a bad person. If he was a bad person, I wouldn't be watching his videos. I'm old enough to know the difference between a good person and a bad person because I have that judgment of my own. However, I can understand why a lot of people would possibly take offense to his jokes because, well, they are they're a bit hardcore, and I understand that fully. However, as as we move forward, it also needs to be understood that, you know, we're just as bad when it comes to jokes. I mean, I've heard some nasty jokes in my time, and I've had no problem with them. I watch iDubbbz and Filthy, all those guys, Filthy Frank, Max Mofo. I watch their videos, and I think they're funny. Like their jokes are incredibly offensive in some level, but they're funny to me because I understand that they don't really put any meaning behind the words that they use, you know. And if anything, they insult each other. If they say words like "you stupid cunt" or something like that, then they're insulting each other. And they're not insulting me personally. So I don't take the jokes seriously because I realize that's all they are at the end of the day is just jokes. And I think this leads me to iDubbbz and what he recently said in his one of his previous videos, uh, the Content Cop series, and he said something very interesting about words because the whole content or the premise it's a long story, but to get to the point of what I'm trying to say is he says, when it comes to words or racial slurs, they all have history to them. They all have their own little deal. But the big phrase that he said out of that whole thing that made sense to me was either all of them are okay or none of them are okay. And I think that applies to this situation as well. You can choose to be offended by a joke if you want to. The joke is either all the jokes are all okay or none of them are okay. So I believe it comes down to choice whether you choose to be offended by a joke, whether you want to take it out of context. That's really your call. I mean, it comes down to personal preference, really. That's my take on the situation. But what I would say is, you as a person, I realize, I don't make any of these jokes on my channel just because that's not what I like to do. I laugh at the jokes, but I'm not good at creating them. So I don't go that far. But I enjoy them for what they are. I know they're meant to be funny, they're meant to be creative, and I have no qualms towards anyone making them because that's their choice. That's their decision to make these jokes, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I know Felix is not a bad person. Like I say, I think I subscribed to him right when he was around 30 million, maybe a little bit more than that. But since I've watched him and since I've watched his older videos, there is no signs of him being a racist or an anti Semite. There's no evidence of that at all. So when I watched the Wall Street Journal's video that they made, they did take things completely out of context for their own personal gain, and it was a very poor decision on their part because I don't think they expected the amount of response that the YouTube community has provided so far. Like, everyone has banded together, whether they love each other or they hate each other, they now have a common disinterest in mainstream media. And it's something that I thought I would never see, is the community coming together for something. Because it's not just about Marks fans or Jags fans, or if you want to go to the other side, iDubbbz fans and whatnot, you know. And all these people coming together from different genres, they're coming together from different parts to say something. And they did. And it amazed me to see everyone just either tweeting about it or making videos on it. Even people who dislike PewDiePie came to his defense. And that is it's amazing. If anything, Wall Street Journal, the only thing you did was make him a stronger person right now, because now he has a wall that is incredibly untouchable. So I will uh, I will say this for you, watching this video. When it comes to wanting information or wanting the truth, research yourself, because I don't want you to just take it from one source. The Wall Street Journal is going to claim that they put out all the facts. They're going to say they have everything in a box. Here, this is all you need to know about PewDiePie. No. Look at everything. Look at every bit of art, every piece of information that you could get your hands on. Find it, read it, and then, because that's what I do. I don't just look at one source of information and call that the truth. I look at all sources of information, and I kind of bring all of those together, and I create my own little bullet list and compare all of the facts, and then I decide for myself what the truth is. I'm not saying you have to go through that entire process, but it certainly helps if you want to have a outcome that is more truthful to yourself, and it doesn't feel like you're pandering to any certain source of information. And a lot of you may be like, well, maybe you're reading this into this too far, but no, I'm not. What these people did was wrong, and my official stance is I stand with PewDiePie. Like I say, jokes can be to sum up the whole video, jokes can be taken completely out of context. I realize that, but at the end of the day, they're just jokes. They're meant to be laughed at, and you can choose to be offended by them if you want to be offended by them. Just like iDubbbz said, you can choose to be offended by racial slurs. Either all of them are okay, or none of them are okay. And I think he said it perfectly, and I'm gonna repeat it here. So that's pretty much my video. I'm not gonna say any more on this topic because I really don't feel like I feel like I've got everything off my chest right now. So thank you all so much for watching. So I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna start streaming here in about an hour and a half. So see y'all later. And Felix, you do deserve an apology from all these companies, not just Wall Street Journal, from YouTube, from Maker, and from Disney. Everybody owes you an apology, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude. Keep up the great work.